Well, hello, everybody. We're wrapping up the week with a little bit of a different format. A one soccer reaction to the week that was in Concacaf Champions Cup with a little Toronto FC and Canadian women's national team news as well, in place of your regularly scheduled One Soccer Today programming. The hosts are the same, the analysts are the same. It's Jenkins, it's Wheeler, it's Wilson with you. I think we've maybe been awake for 90 minutes or so, boys. Well, you guys have little ones, so maybe I got to sleep in a little bit after last night's marathon at Starlight Stadium, an emotional roller coaster that saw Cavalry take an historic victory against Pumas, winning by 2-1 with a couple of wonder strikes and a Santiago Lopez appetizer. It was brilliant. It was just about perfect. The scenes, the memories, they will last in our collective conscious for a very long time. This format is meant to be interactive as always. Whenever we pop onto these YouTube lives, if you have questions or comments, of course, drop them into the chat. We have one right away. What a game. That's all I got to say about that. I mean, I'd love to be able to leave it at that too. We're going to try to fill about 30 minutes of programming, though, with more to say about that, including Tommy Wheeldon Jr. stopping by. I guess I'll start with the softball.
You buried the lead.
Bury the
Wheels
lead.
Up is on the show.
Tommy's going to be here. Tommy's going to be here.
Cares about us.
Well, we're about 5 minutes away. Of course, we're going to try to get him connected and tested, and we'll get him in as soon as we can, Gareth. So let's start with the softball question, the overarching theme. You've had the night to sleep on it. I'm sure we've all been looking back on the clips, the goals, the reaction. Just what was the most impressive thing for you from yesterday's performance?
All right. First of all, marathon. Did you go out after? Did you go out and celebrate after the game last night?
If by out you mean I had a Muskoka detour on our producer's couch and went to bed, yes, I went out last night.
Wow. Ooh, nice plug. Nice plug. Don't even ask, ladies and gentlemen, sleeping on our producer's couch.
What a guy.
Wow. TMI. What a night. The most impressive part was the fact that Cavalry, and I'll get to this in a second, in their first game of the season, go a goal down to Pumas and find a way to claw back to win for the first time a Canadian Premier League club has ever won in this competition and has beat a Liga MX size and a really good one at that, a team that finished fourth in the Apertura. I understand that they left some big dogs at home, but there were significant players who were on the field and started from the get-go. So how do you mitigate, how do you balance out the fact that Pumas didn't have a quote-unquote first-choice 11 with the fact that it was Cavalry's first game in 3 months? These two things kind of even themselves out. That's why I don't think you can take anything away from what was accomplished last night by Cavalry. Their stick-to-itiveness, I know it's a hockey term, the grit, the way that they grinded out the game, executed a game plan. I just thought it was all to near perfection last night. And it wasn't as if this Cavalry team, who was outstanding finishing the season last season, they had changes. The whole right side of their defense was out, didn't start. It was Cobbs and Walling and not Klomp and Aird from the get-go in that game. Gutierrez, who was a stud last season, wasn't in the starting 11. Yeah, they just seemed to pick up where they left off. So it was a character performance. By the way, they also didn't play a home game at home. There's all these factors that weigh into the fact that this wasn't just a regular ordinary win. This was something special that we experienced last night. Kudos to all involved with Cavalry. That was an historic win. And you're right, Adam, a performance we won't forget anytime soon.
I loved your point, Gareth, about it wasn't just the comeback, but it's typically when these teams, and it's not just the CPL thing, it could be MLS too. When you take one to a Liga MX or a giant in the region, you often take two or you take three. So to take it so close to halftime, and that's something that we heard Oliver Platt and Tommy Wheeldon Jr. discuss yesterday, it made it so much more impressive, Jordan, how they came in emboldened without really abandoning the defensive mindset and really just straddling that line of aggression and conservation, because they knew that if they took a second, it would just about be over considering where they play next. And that's something we'll discuss here momentarily.
Yeah, absolutely, Jenko. Like the most impressive fact or aspect of yesterday was the comeback. But then I guess to the point to get there is the fact that you have deja vu from last year of maybe a goal that your keeper should do better. I don't know, Carducci will raise his hand and be like, that one should be parried out for a corner, put to the side. It happens right before halftime, so they get sucker punched and winded. the response, though, that happens from when you go a goal down, the togetherness, the fact that everyone tracked back. Shamit Shom ran his socks off. Like a Charlie Trafford, you could see was just rallying. The belief within the squad. Like, it's different when you believe at home and win a North Star Cup against Forge and you finally slay them. But to go and have that same togetherness and take it to another degree at Starlight Stadium, to Wheels' point, at a away venue that you call home, is a different type of gravy and a different type of resolve that we're seeing from this group. And I think Tommy Wheeldon Jr., he took a gamble as well of playing and keeping all these guys, but he just prides himself on chemistry and the fact that they love each other and there's that brotherhood. And that was shown yesterday. So I think that's something that you can build off of, definitely going into this next leg with everything to play for. But for me, it's just such a feel-good story with this CPL team that has no business coming back from being down. And they did that, and they did that with grace.
I hope Canadian soccer is taking notice here. And I'm talking about the Canadian soccer ecosystem. Oftentimes, us who live in this world are looking for attention from the general public or other sports fans across this country. There are plenty of people within the Canadian soccer ecosystem that oftentimes focus on themselves rather than the big picture here. This is a big deal that a team from a domestic league that's entering its 7th season could be in a position to go out and win a game like that. I think it's something pretty special. I think the word needs to be spread. We need to do as good of a job as we can within this world that we live in, which is limited to a certain degree, in order to continue to tell these stories. Because, man, I was buzzing for the group last night. And if you were to tell me that something like this could happen 7 years ago, I might giggle, I might laugh, I might shrug, like, show me that path, right? Well, we've come down that path and look where it is right now. It's not even where we've ended up. It's like where we are right now. And it's because of people like Tommy Wheeldon Jr., the ownership group at Cavalry, the belief that people within the Canadian Premier League have in this project, that it just continues to take us forward. It continues to amaze as we continue to navigate down this road. It's pretty incredible. And the players deserve all the credit in the world. Like, they're the ones that, game 1, they just had a training camp. They're playing a team that played the Apertura, the 5 or 6 games into their Clausura, to go out, even when they were running on fumes, to put themselves in a position to win a game like that. Just outstanding stuff, really, from top to bottom.
Tommy Wheeldon Jr. said it best yesterday. If an MLS team scored that same goal that Tobias Warszewski did in the 80th minute to go and beat Pumas, it's headlines everywhere. And what we have a tendency to do would be like, oh, well, they didn't have their full team, Pumas. Let's see what happens the second leg. Let us be present in this moment and understand how ridiculous that is to do. That if I try 9 times, I might get it 1 out of 10. And he just pulls this off, does it with so much flair. The right foot touch and the volley to finish between the keeper's legs is not just an everyday finish at this moment in time. It's not like Tobias Warszewski had 6 chances this match and was living in the box and finally got one done. This is him stepping up in a big moment for the club and the manager that had so much belief in it. This is huge, and we got to ride this out for at least the next 48 hours.
Do you think that's true? Do you think that it's not getting enough pub or press? Like, who is this? Who are we looking for in terms of affirmation for this? Anyone that watched, Concacaf's building up this tournament, they've plastered this, posted this everywhere. It's just one of those things in the world today, just put it out and let the pictures do justice. And I think it's getting tons of traction. I don't know if that's the case. It might be celebrated by certain fans or certain individuals, but if you're not willing or able to post or engage with a moment like that, then it's really your loss. I really don't concern myself about anything on the outside, to tell you the truth.
Fair enough. A reminder, if you're joining us a little bit late, we're expecting Tommy Wheeldon Jr. to join us in the next few minutes. So if you have questions for the Cavalry gaffer, the man of the 24 hours, put them in the comments. We'll try to get a few to the boss when he joins us in just a few minutes. And Jordan, the next question, it's almost unfair that I'm going to ask this just before Tommy jumps on, but you see a result like that and you immediately try to compare and contrast and think about where it might sit. But it's a debate that we could probably have for a while. I'm going to ask you on the spot, is that the most impressive result by a CPL team in the league's 6 0.001 year history so far?
I think so. And I think maybe there might be a small percentage of recency bias because I'm still coming off that high from last night and screaming in the studio with Wheels. But I think so. And I think it's not only the fact that you're playing Pumas, who is a Mexican giant, that is a fact. It's not only the fact that they're playing away from home and they get a result. It has to be the fact that they go 1-0 down at half. And you have to go and climb this mountain that we've seen CPL teams try to do before. And 1-0 turns into 3 or 3-1. That could have easily been the result based on how the first half ended. But to just go and climb, and we even said after 1-1, just take that and maybe go to Mexico. But the belief and the drive to keep pushing, for me, this has to be the biggest one.
Wills, you agree?
I mean, in CPL history, it's not a game played in the Canadian Premier League, but the biggest result that's being achieved by a Canadian Premier League club, beating MLS clubs in the Canadian Championship. I think that those absolutely matter. It's about coming up with a proper barometer of where the Canadian Premier League is right now and where it can go. But based upon the rich history of Pumas, where that club stands right now, with all due respect to the 3 Canadian MLS sides, they're probably in a better position. This was a finalist in this tournament in 2022 as well. So that has to be taken into consideration, as well as the context. Again, in a home away from home, in your first game of the season, yeah, I'd have to say the biggest performance or the biggest result ever made or had by a Canadian Premier League club, Cavalry gets it for now.
Well, Tommy Wheeldon Jr., the head coach and general manager of Cavalry Football Club, is here. We will add him to the program and get his take. Tommy, yeah, that's right.
Tommy.
Wheels up!
Tommy.
Wheels up!
Go, Tommy!
Good morning, sir. Yeah, first of all, where's the hat? Or has it already gone to the Cavalry Football Club Hall of Fame?
It's a good one, that one, and especially on those cold nights, isn't it? That's up in the suitcase, ready to be taken back to Calgary. Won't need it for Mexico City.
Yeah, I'd imagine
visor. We're a
the
visor, college football style down there in Mexico.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Very good. You had the Oliver Platt treatment yesterday, so I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm asking you something of a new variety. We have the live Q&A, of course, so we'll see if the supporters have any questions for you as well. But I think I just start with looking back on the highlights, of course, but within the replays, you're seeing the section or two of foot soldiers. Obviously, Ian Allison, the COO, was up there. Mark Noonan was there. Your family was there. Just what was that part of it like, Tommy, after the adrenaline of the match wore off and you were able to enjoy that with some pretty important people to you personally and professionally? And how did that speak to the moment or the size of the occasion and what you accomplished?
Honestly, it feels like a growing family, and I know a lot of coaches say that, but seeing these young men, and many of them have been originals, and I'd include Nick Ledgewood and Jay Wheeldon as that, Mason Trafford. These guys have been around. They were there. They were there and a part of the 2019 win against the Whitecaps. And I remember it feeling like that, where there was this big section of Cavalry FC family, fans, people who'd paid money to come across. We were taken aback by the amount of flights that were getting delayed, and then the amount of texts we were getting that more Cavalry fans were piling onto planes. We're like, this is just amazing. So to win it with them, and also see the images of those in the pubs back home, it was an exceptional night. So it's always nice to share it with my own family. I think these are occasions, it's got to be part of your lifestyle. But to see the way these young men just continue to go out and punch above their weight does nothing but great things for our game in Canada.
There's a few already in the chat. Just the rightful congratulations. The Sasky Gooner says big ups, Tommy, and the Cavalry. Benedict Rhodes, who I know you work with on a fairly regular basis or is constantly picking your brain, he comes in with a tactical question. He's coming in hot, Tommy. When was the decision made to put Volling at right back, and what did you make of his performance? Because obviously you would have known Fraser Aird's status for a while. You would be able to game plan, and I know when it comes out, you're kind of thinking, okay, well, we know him as the left winger. We know him as the attacker. So big call out of necessity, but he didn't really look out of place from our vantage point a few thousand kilometers away. What did you make?
Do you know what? I got to give my brother credit for that one. When Nicholas first came to him, he had great data and scoring goals in the German third and fourth division as a winger. And we're like, he's powerful, he's direct, but he's actually very tactically good. So he often would defer and do a lot of the, backtracking, running, matching up of advanced wingers, and not necessarily as much of the goal threats as what he once did, but he was willing to do that. And my brother said to me, he said, I think he would be a really good fullback because he's great in distances, getting forward, can get you up the pitch, but will also work back that way, tough to get past. So Fraser Aird had come in, he'd been off for probably about 2 or 3 weeks just with a bit of turf toe, and it was a niggly injury, and we were conscious of that. Michael Harms was another option we had there, and Harmsy's been great for the moments he's had in the CPL, but we said, we're going to need experience here. So we thought Nicholas would match up well with their wing backs, that he would also get up and around Ali Musi and get Ali the ball, because I think we also had to be conscious of him understanding the position of a winger. We need our best players on the ball, and how do we get Ali free? Well, Nicholas was prepared to do that, and I thought he was exceptional last night.
Can I jump in, Adam?
You sure can.
It's
an open
Tommy. Well done last night. I was so happy for you and the boys. Incredible to witness. There's something that happens with the team when you win your first title. I know you won the regular season, you won the Shield before, but then you get the North Star Cup. But they just looked incredibly confident. Did you and this team really believe that you had a chance to go in and win this game?
Yeah, I think you guys had an interview with Jay Herdman, and he said that is, listen, winning the regular season is a different competition. Winning the playoffs is a different competition. Going deep and winning the Can Champ is a different competition. I think now we're having repetitions, and those one-off games or those home and away games, the more we're in this competition, we learned a lot from the Orlando game. We went toe-to-toe. We're like, well, listen, we got 6-7 weeks of preparation. They're a good team, but so are we. We won the regular season by, 13 points. Let's see where we measure up. But reality was the tie was over after the first leg, and we know that it is we're home but away from home. So we took in a lot of factors and said, right, we actually need to be a little bit more pragmatic, but still keep our identity. And how do we do that against a team, right? Pumas are a team that are very good defensively, one of the best in Liga MX, so they're going to be hard to break down. How do you open them up, right? Maybe let them have a little bit more of the ball. Maybe we drop our line because it's a shorter pitch. And we talked and went through, some tactical iterations. But the beauty of this, we've only had 5 weeks of preseason. They're 5 games in the season, but we're able to drip feed in a lot. We had a great analytics team, and Jake Davis has taken over that, our keeper coach as well, with Justans and Louch. Gave us great information, and we were able to do it. So there is belief. So when you do win in a cup competition, you have more belief in a cup competition. We know we've gone deep in the Can Champ, but now we've become a playoff team as well, and we found ways to win these head-to-head games. And I tell you, experience matters.
Tommy, I want to know about your headspace. Like when Santiago Lopez scores, and you go in at halftime, what do you say to the boys? And then how do you personally feel like in that moment? For me, also, too, maybe looking back, tell me if I'm wrong, Kobza maybe should step earlier. Obviously, you shouldn't get in that space. Maybe Volling should box out, but whatever. The goal goes in. What do you say to this group to be like, how do we get back in this tie? What was the conversation like for those 15 minutes?
Well, we actually talked before the game, and I reiterated at halftime, is we're 6 years old. We're going into our 7th year, the 7 stripes on our jersey. And we said, look, any new business, any new product, any new league, any new player, if you want to change the game, you've got to be a disruptor. And how do you become a disruptor? You have to make waves. And in order to make waves, like we did in 2019, beating the Whitecaps, you have to make a statement victory. So we said about that is how do we do it? We believe we were ready. We knew what they'd offer. So we'd prepared them. When they conceded, I thought we'd had a really good half. I thought we'd committed to the game plan well. We wanted to keep it 0-0 by halftime because we knew we could come in. We knew we would unlock a few and pick them out and just have 2 or 3 extra attacking moments. So when they came in, the boys were just pissed. They were annoyed. And it was the mentality of a champion that they were like, that's unacceptable. They can't be scoring like that. And I thought, brilliant. So I said, lads, no problem. We talked at the beginning. We're going to make a statement. We're going to take a result into Mexico City. So how do we do that? We're going to create opportunities. So keep going the way you're doing. The game plan is working. But when we get it and they're spread out, can we attack them quicker? Can we get corners? Can we get us up the pitch? Can we get the ball into Toby, Musi, Jay, or Sergio earlier? And then if they block back, then we'll live there for a bit. But let's look to hurt them early, and they did it.
Tommy, one of the fun things about this competition is when we get to produce the games for the Canadian audience, you get to be, One Soccer gets to be a bit more team CPL. You're not necessarily speaking to an international audience. So it feels like in the studio, in the commentary booth, you feel things a little bit more as if you're right there with you guys in many ways. I want to ask you about the VAR review, because as soon as I realized what the delay was, I had this massive pit in my stomach. Like, there's no way one of the greatest moments from a player from a team in this league is about to get chalked off for VAR, which we're not used to dealing with, obviously, in the Canadian Premier League. So I'm just wondering what those probably 2-3 hours it would have felt like to you were like on the touchline with the players as you waited to see what referee Escobar was going to do.
That was a first for me and our coaching staff and the players too, because we've seen it on TV now, and you're kind of having that delay, and then you're either having celebration and disappointment or the double celebration. So I think for us to have gone through it, there was a big pause. We got to celebrate twice, so certainly a new and weird experience. But my goodness, what a goal! Great delivery from Musi after his second ball recovery. And Jay Herdman, he scored a header like that against Pacific from an alley cross. So him to have the intelligence to set it to Toby Bergkamp was unreal.
Well, I want to ask you a little bit more about Toby in a second and his reaction. Actually, let's do that first, because I think this was one of our favorite moments post-match, because obviously he's cold, obviously he's in the moment, and he's just ran his socks off, but he's asked to do an interview in his second language after the match, and he gave us this delightful little nugget.
It's a special goal from you to win it as well. Can you walk us through that?
Oh yeah, I don't know really what happened. Sometimes I just black out and I don't know. I just touch it, finish it. I don't know how to really explain it.
What happened? I blacked out.
I can't imagine what's going through his mind in the reveling, of that. I know you spoke ad nauseum, and I'm sure you get your general manager side of your business card probably gets a bit of a workout after a player of yours does something like that. But I mean, what more is there to say about this guy who took a year off from football, has come back and has been the most prolific goal scorer in the league for a while, and just does so many good things for your group that makes your attacking force so fluid?
He's an artist, isn't he? And I think sometimes as a coach, you just got to give them the paint and let them go. And that's basically what we do with Toby. We give him a principle in what we need from him defensively. We give him an idea of where he'll get the ball, but the rest is up to him. And we joke with the lads. Listen, football's easy. Just pass the ball to your good players. So the boys pass him the ball a lot more now, because he keeps producing big moments, and he's a very talented guy. He's also a unique character. He carries this big personality, but he speaks so honestly. And Mason Trafford said a great thing. It had me giggling on the bus on the way home. He said he's like one of those Disney movie princes, with the big square jaw and the flick hair. You could make an incredible AI character out of him. But I think he's one of them that we should continue to celebrate him, because even before us, with the things he did for FC Edmonton, he's a star of this league, and hopefully that will replay around the world a little bit more, because it is an exceptional goal. If that was a Liga MX striker or an MLS striker, it'd be on all the sports channels and it would go viral. So hopefully we'll continue to watch that goal for years to come.
Yeah. One more on the game. And
well,
then
good luck.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say good luck keeping hold of him. I'm sure that not only that goal, but honestly, the way that he's such a big part of your team going forward. So best of luck there. I got to ask you, I mean, you're going down to Mexico City. This is going to be an entirely different experience as well. How do you prepare for it? Like, honestly, Tommy, there's a part of me last night, like you held on in the end for the 2-1 win. I didn't tell this to Jordan and KJ in studio, but when you brought on Tom Field, I was kind of like, I want you to go for a third here. Did that even cross your mind to go for a third? Like, honestly, because having that 2-goal advantage makes a big difference over a 1-goal advantage, especially in Concacaf when the away goals rule comes into play. So I wonder what your mindset was like, were you considering, let's go get a third last night.
Yeah, great question. But what happens if you leave yourself open and they score a second away goal? So learning from last year, where we went, okay, let's try and get back into it. Orlando hurt us coming in the other direction, so we thought, well, actually, we had to take a result into there because we believe that we will have a chance, and whether it might be another set play or whether it be a fast attack, because they've got to come after us and they've got to play a game more aggressive, and with it becomes more space. So we're like, yeah, let's take the result, and we also have to realize that I actually want as many healthy bodies going into that second leg because we're only 5 weeks into preseason, so a lot of these guys haven't even played 90 minutes, let alone a game of that standard intensity. And a lot of them, you've seen Jay Herdman's running; he was incredible in terms of his pressing and his dribbling. He got us up the pitch. He tracked back. He was an all-action winger. And I thought if he blows up, and I haven't got him for the second leg. So a lot of it was protection. Another was learning from last year and being more pragmatic and say, look, it's going to be a totally new game. We've told the lads, our founder, Mr. Southern, used to say, you have a day to celebrate and a day to commiserate, and then you can move on. So today we'll just enjoy the victory. We'll have these interviews, but we also know we actually have to be even better. We've got a bigger challenge ahead of us. But one thing I like about our group of men is the bigger the task, the more they're rising to it. And you're seeing a mature team now. And it's probably the best group that we've had that keeps rising to these occasions.
I thought your subs and the timing of your subs were exceptional yesterday as well. Like, that's what gets you over the line. Like, when you can have fresh legs coming in, the players you took off. But best of luck. You guys put yourself in a phenomenal position for this.
Well, listen, look at Concacaf lessons. We talk about, look at, as we say about learning as a country, and we're helping the Canadian game as we prepare for the World Cup be noticed. But we took 3 yellow cards for, slowing the game down. Mm-hmm. Right? When would that happen for a Canadian team, let alone a Canadian Premier League team? Took 3 yellow cards for taking our time, slowing it down. The referee was trying to speed us up. Get that, but we were able to manage the game.
I was yelling at Callum though in extra time. I was like, the 90-second rule. I said, Papa, if you're not hurt, you better just out of tension. You better get up quickly, because then we were playing like 99 minutes. I'm like, Callum. But other than that, it's perfect.
Tommy, we'll let you go after this final question, because I know that you've probably been doing 1,000 of these, so you've probably been asked about every player on your roster. But one of the coolest moments for me last night was just sharing that story that you have told so often about Charlie going to Europe and saying, you bring me a hometown club and I'll bring you a title, and you guys accomplished that. And he becomes an unsung hero on that first goal. And if maybe not for all the pebbles in the snowbank, he might have tried to go in a la Atakubi last night. But just what is the say about him and the performance he put in after a tough year, and how much he also just lives and dies for this city and for this team?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I've seen him grow up, and he's now a married man, a beautiful wife, great lifestyle. He's building a business. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's just, I told him he's in the twilight of his career, and he but actually had an interesting conversation at half time, because the referee gave him a warning because he'd already been booked. He had a warning because he'd had a couple of fouls, and he's an all-action midfielder. And if you remember, in a game at Halifax, I took him off at half-time because I think Carly, the ref, had said, listen, if he gets one more slide, he's got a yellow and he's off. So we protected him. And this year, I said to him, listen, here's where you're at. So his celebration, so he said, no, trust. He said, I got this. I said, okay. So his celebration, he goes to take his jersey off, and then he goes to jump, and then he's like, I better get back in the pitch. So in the midst of that, his intelligence actually came through, and he just then ended up doing that. But he would have jumped on the snowbank like Sam Adekubi. But no, he's brilliant.
Tommy, our parting gift to you from producer Armin. Ask and you shall receive. We got the AI magic going. Here you go. We'll send that to you. That could be Toby's new contact picture in your phone.
He needs to be in red. He needs to be in red. That's the only criticism. That's brilliant.
Prince Toby. Yeah, put him
Prince
in red.
Toby, indeed. Hey, safe travels to you and the traveling supporters and the club and and everyone involved. Thanks for carving out 20 minutes for us, and congratulations again.
Congrats, Tommy.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Wheels up. Right on.
Tommy Wheeldon Jr., head coach and general manager of Cavalry Football Club after their biggest day yet as a club. Remarkable that was the follow-up game from winning the North Star Cup, just 3 months in between. They do that against Pumas. We'll quickly wrap up the show because there was another match in Concacaf Champions Cup featuring a CPL side this week, and it was Forge falling to Monterrey by 2-0. Gareth, it's always so tough to have a deep dive and a fully fleshed out assessment of the newcomers because that was the main difference. Cavalry was the continuity, like so many people in the comments on this show have pointed out, and what that was able to do for their team. And for Forge, Babuli is back, Rama is back, Wright is in, Nimic is in, Yevremovic is in, I think, and that was the fifth change from the 11. A different team. I know obviously it was a tough one, and chances rude. I'm sure Brian Wright is still kicking himself, as is Alex Ashenyote Janssen, just that they were there, but they couldn't finish off. So I guess with a few days of processing time, what were your thoughts, Wheels, on the new look Hamiltonians?
Well, I don't mean to skirt the question, but it's very hard to assess when the pitch conditions kind of ruin the game.
It could have been canceled. Like, let's be honest, the game could have been canceled.
Brash. I've never seen Hamilton Stadium like that before. The combination of the wetness, the cold weather, like it was just very weird. Like over the last couple of years, where the weather's been bad and there's been snow, it's been cold. I've never seen it like that. So I think that was an anomaly, and it affected just the way that the game was played. The players slipping and falling and just being a little bit safe. It could have contributed maybe to some of the apprehension of Brian Wright on that effort that could have put them up 1-0. I don't want to make excuses, but it's a reason why the game kind of played out as it did. I just look at this Forge squad, Adam. They are loaded. It's going to be up for Bobby Smirniotis to figure out what players to play where and when. I think that Mo Babuli might be suited more to playing inside rather than out on the left. I think that Mpoma might fit the profile a little bit more. How many top midfielders or potentially top midfielders do they have? The two new fullbacks that came in were both outstanding on the night, keeping Hujabrapor to tie things together with Becker in the midfield. Like they have an embarrassment of riches. I will say all the pressure when it comes to Forge this season is going to be on one player, and it's going to be on Brian Wright. Because Forge, after they sold Kwesi Poku last year, didn't have a number 9. Wright needs to be the player who showed out for the first 3 months of the 2024 season. He can't be 2023 Brian Wright, or that problem still hasn't been solved. He's the key to everything when it comes to Forge. The rest of the squad, I really don't have any questions. They are loaded to make another run here in 2025.
And Jordan, we know how much of a task it's going to be to go down to Monterrey, into that stadium, into the Cauldron, to get a result. But I mean, I don't want to. I agree with Gareth, and I think Brian understands it. But is it as simple as, and Borges and Chouanier and Babuli are included in this? But for them to have any chance in the return leg, he's got to be at an A+ 11 out of 10.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also tough to say, right? The realistic answer and approach. Obviously, you look at that isolated incident and that chance, and he knows that needs to get buried, right? And there are those moments. Chouanier had one, maybe for me, takes an extra touch. Maybe him in form that's scoring, bottom left corner for our post. Like, there's little moments. Ashley Janssen, we talked about, that'll probably finish. I think it's scary hours for Forge in terms of them being so dangerous, because Babuli, Borges, Chouanier, maybe a 7 out of 10 on a day. What happens when they're a 9? To Wheels' point, embarrassment of riches. Like, yeah, it might not come right now against Monterrey in February, but this team will be there in the end. If all those players that we speak about have a good to great season, they're up there, man. This team has it all.
Considering the status right now of the Canadian sides in MLS, I mean, we keep on saying this. Is this a year a CPL side does it in CanChamp? I mean, these teams are better equipped for it this season than ever before. And I think there's some, I really love what CF Montreal is doing this offseason. I really, really do. But they have a lot of young players in the team. Vancouver, we'll see how they add for some of the losses that they have and where that club goes from here. But Forge, Cavalry, does it go deeper? Halifax, Ottawa? I think there's some real contenders this year.
But Wheels, just based on the bracket as well, like we don't need to go deep into it, but TFC and CF Montreal play each other early.
First
then
round.
Forge,
Halifax or
if
Forge.
they win, play them. I'm like, this, based on the bracket, this could be a year a CPL team makes it all the way to the dance.
Well, Cup fever is absolutely contagious, certainly when we had a dreamlike evening last night in Langford on Vancouver Island. A reminder of the return legs. It is Tuesday, Forge at Monterrey, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursday, Cavalry in Mexico City to take on Pumas, who will have been stinging from the lashing they're taking in the media right now. Also, an 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. local in Calgary. You can find all those games on One Soccer, just as you can find the Pinatar Cup. Casey Stoney's first camp roster has been unveiled. You can find the details on onesoccer.ca, and then we'll see the matches, the very first ones for the women's national team this season. They will play China, Chinese Taipei, and Mexico. Once again, all that information available on onesoccer.ca with more analysis and coverage to come on OST, which will be back on Monday. For Gareth and Jordan, our thanks to Tommy Wheeldon Jr., and our thanks to you for joining us
Go Birds! Go Birds!
Have a great weekend,
Come on.
everyone.
Win that Super Bowl.
Depending on your
Let's
flavor
go.
on Sunday, enjoy that game.
Go Birds.
Cheers, everybody.